Thank you very much, Abdusalam Jibril, for that background. With us in the studios, we would like to welcome the Honourable Minister of Water Resources, Engineer Suleiman Adamu. Honourable Minister, pleasure to have you once again, and good morning, Nigeria.
Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, thank you.
Also here with us in the studios is the Water, Sanitation and Hygiene Manager of UNICEF, Umar Dumbuya. Umar Dumbuya, pleasure to have you with us this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you.
And joining us via Zoom from Ilorin is the Honourable Commissioner for Water Resources, Femi Abdul-Wahab Abaje. It's a pleasure having you on our show this morning, Honourable Commissioner.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
All right.
Okay, let's begin with the Honourable Minister of Water Resources. I know that we've had you a number of times on Good Morning Nigeria, and you've spoken on several aspects of what the administration is doing, the challenges it is facing, the initiatives it is embarking upon. But walk us through what have been the milestones in the water sector in the 6 years of the Buhari administration.
Thank you very much. First of all, I think, let me start from the beginning. We came in and met a sector that was in need of an overhaul, so to speak. We had so many projects spread out across the country, if I recall, 116 in number. Some of them have been running for 20 years or more, not being completed, and every year successive governments would come in and just start another set of projects and leave, and no projects were finished. And we took a strategic decision at that time that, okay, we're not going to look at any new projects until we find a way to deal with those ones that are already on ground. And we set out to prioritize these projects into high, medium, and low priority, and eventually selected those that we thought we could finish over the lifetime of this administration. So that is one. Number two, we took an inquiry as to why Nigeria was not achieved the Millennium Development Goals. We needed to have 75% access by the year 2015, but that had not achieved. We were at 68%. And it was showing that in the rural areas, 50% of the rural areas were still not covered. And so in the course of the inquiry, we now decided, we found out that one of the main reasons is that investment has been relying solely on budgetary allocations. And we realized that that would not work. And therefore, we came up with a new program, which is the Partnership for Expanded Water Supply, Sanitation and Hygiene, at least to address the rural problem, because 50% of the population in the rural areas were not covered. So and then we added the sanitation component to it, which we have been doing very, very dismally. The performance has been dismal. Of course, we looked at other sectors. We looked at policy issues, the National Water Resources Policy, the Water Resources Bill that was still in the shelves. It had been drafted since 2008 and nothing had happened. We looked at the merit, examined it, circulated it, took it to the National Council of Water Resources meeting in 2016, adopted it, and then pushed it through the Federal Executive Council. We looked at our irrigation projects. We came up with a new irrigation policy and strategy, and which was already also in draft form with support from the Food and Agriculture Organization. We got that through Federal Executive Council. And then we developed a new National Irrigation Development Program. Going further, we launched a roadmap for ending open defecation in Nigeria by 2025. And then subsequently also, following a diagnostic report on the water resources sector, which we did in collaboration with the World Bank, we came up with the new WASH action plan for the country, which was launched by the President in November 2018. And then the President declared a state of emergency on the water, sanitation, and hygiene sector on the same day. The following year, November 2019, we launched the Clean Nigeria Use the Toilet campaign to rid Nigeria of open defecation. And also the President signed an Executive Order number 9 on 20th November 2019 to support that campaign. What else? We also were able to celebrate the first local government in the country as an entity, a political entity that was open defecation free in April 2017. And since then, we've made tremendous amount of progress. We could have done better, but for the COVID pandemic, we've been able to, as I'm talking to you now, we have 61 local governments that are open defecation free in the country. So slow progress, but progress nonetheless. So then we've also done a lot to transform the river basins, development authorities. I think they've undergone serious structural reform and they're still ongoing. We're trying to get them commercialized. We've taken a decision to move from fossil fuels, so most of our irrigation systems and even some water supply schemes now, we are supporting them with solar systems to make them more sustainable. So far of those 116 projects that I was talking about that we inherited, and out of the ones that we prioritized, we've completed 34, and we're still working. But let me also say that the issue of water resources development, be it water supply or irrigation or hydropower or whatever, and I dare say that we've made tremendous strides also in the hydropower sector, is that it's a continuous process. You cannot have a snapshot or say, okay, this is the end. You just have to continue, but you should be going along with the same pace as population growth and so on, because that is the key. This water, you know, it's always about water demand, be it for drinking or agriculture or hydropower, and therefore you cannot just, as a government, we cannot say the work is accomplished, the work is finished. No, we just have to continue and stop somewhere and hope that subsequent administrations will continue. And that is why our roadmap, which we launched in 2015, which has all those things that I've been talking about in the last few minutes, is a 15-year roadmap from 2016 to 2030. We're fully conscious of the fact that our administration will end in 2023, but the job has to continue and there has to be overlaps. And that is why we took it that far. I will say something on the hydro power. It's quite expensive. We have been able to concession two projects, two hydropower projects, what we call mini hydros in Gurara, and Dadinkowa is on stream now. We've completed Kashimbila, 40 megawatts. Gurara is 30 megawatts, Dadinkowa is 40 megawatts as well, which are going on the grid. We also have a new project that is coming, the 360 megawatts Gurara hydropower project. And we have signed an MOU with about 5 or 6, 7 different companies to do major hydropower projects, but on BOT basis, build, operate, and transfer. So it's a PPP arrangement because, of course, we have paucity of funds to be able to do these projects on our own. So quite a few number of things that I can say, given the time that we have for now.
All right, Honourable Minister. When it comes to water resources management and supply, if the subnationals are not keen into all the policies and measures and programs of the federal government or federal Minister of Water Supply, then it's assumed that nothing is done. So I'm interested in the issue of partnership for expanded water supply, sanitation, and hygiene. 33 states are known to have endorsed this partnership. Tell us more about this partnership.
Well, there are more than 33 now. I think even FCT has come on board now. Like I said, we were making inquiry as to why we're not able to meet the development goals. So this program came out as an answer to that. We're hoping, we realized that the reason why we couldn't meet the Millennium Development Goals was because the states pulled it back, because all the people are in the states, and the states did not invest as much as they should have in that program. So we needed to bring out this program as a way to incentivize the states. So what we're saying is federal government is no longer going to just go and run schemes or build water schemes in states and just move out. We have to be sure that the states have a corresponding contribution. And that is what we're doing. So it's a 50-50 arrangement. And right now, as I'm talking to you, we're working with 12 states out of the 34 or 35 now that have endorsed the program. We had a pilot program for Kano and Ogun states, and after that we are now moving with 12 states. And each state is selecting 2 local governments and we're selecting 2 local governments. Well, they give us the local government, those that are in dire need, that are in critical need of for water. And we're addressing just the rural communities. So by the time these 12 states, the program is finished, we will have 48 local governments that have their rural communities having 100% coverage. So that's the idea. And so far, so good. Even last week, I received a notice from one of the states that they have committed about 800 million naira for their own portion. So many states are coming now because there's an incentive. But before, they didn't have the incentive because federal government would just go in, do the schemes, and go, and then they will not do their own. So we're saying now it's quid pro quo. You know, we have to work together. And we're hoping that the development partners will also come in at some point. Then there's the aspect of that we're trying to introduce. It has taken a little long time, but I think we'll get there. One of the components of PWASH is what we call water and sanitation entrepreneurship. The idea is to promote young people or anybody, the people from the private sector, to be able to invest money, to build water schemes, to build sanitation facilities like toilets, you know, and be able to run them, because this is happening all over the world. You go to places, you want to use the toilet, you drop a coin, and people earn a living out of it. And even in Nigeria, there's quite a number of communities. I know even in FCT, I know that there have been toilets that were built but given out to people to operate. They had showers and you know, the toilet facilities. So we want to restore that kind of thing and be able to you know, to support the sanitation component. Recently, I had an interesting discussion with the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory in that regard, and they're willing to provide land for people that want to invest in public toilets. And one of the incentives that the FCTs provide is that they will give them free water connection, so that they don't have to pay for water charges. So we're gradually getting there, I think.
Okay, Honourable Minister, let's pause you in the meantime so that we bring in Femi Agbaje, who is the Honourable Commissioner for Water Resources. I believe that's in Kwara State. He's joining us via Zoom. Mr. Femi Agbaje, I also want to assume that you've been in office for as long as the governor has also been in office, which is 2 years. But let me preface my question with what is a common refrain whenever we discuss water issues on Good Morning Nigeria, namely that the subnational entities, that's to say the states and local governments, do not appear to match what the federal government itself is doing. When you're talking about reticulation, that's to say extension of pipe-borne water to various locations in urban areas, you have a major issue. In rural areas, you also have a major challenge. What is the story out of Kwara? What is it that it's been done differently, or is it the same old story?
Thank you very much. Good morning, viewers, the Honourable Minister. I thank God for this opportunity, and I appreciate our Honourable Minister for all what he has been doing. In fact, with what I saw in Kwara, and if I can use that to measure the performance of the Ministry of Water Resources in the country, I believe the ministry has gone far in solving the water problems of Nigeria. We really appreciate what the minister has done, though we are not surprised because he's a man of high intellectual capacity, and he has deployed that in ensuring that the last community in Nigeria gets water. I will come back to that later anyway. But in Kwara State, we thank God for the executive governor of Kwara State, who are on resumption. Part of the first thing he did was to declare an emergency in terms of water supply in the state, because the story was another thing before he came on board. There you have a state, even at the metropolis, you discover that people are still using water tanker to supply. The government was using water tanker to supply water to the people. But the moment this government came on board, it made a comatose water supply, because at that time, the first month, the staff of Water Corporation was on strike. So it took the high determination of His Excellency to call all of them, listen to their complaints, and assure them that this thing is going to be well taken care of. And thank God the staff went back to office, and the story became another thing. Not only that, His Excellency decided that there should be an emergency approach to water supply in the state. And in this regard, 3 senatorial districts were mapped out, and a study was carried out to look at how we can solve the water problems in these 3 senatorial districts. As I speak to you, right from the inception, the government has touched virtually all the local governments in the state. There is no single local government that has not enjoyed one thing or the other from this administration. When I looked at the reports in respect of open defecation, when they said Kwara ranked list, I was baffled and surprised, especially when you look at all those things that this government has done. I wondered, how can they be ranked list? But when I interfaced with the people who are directly in charge, what I was made to know was that these things, the report that came out was based on the data available to them, and that was as far back as 2018. I said, okay, that is good. If they have all the details that we have on the ground now in terms of what the government has done, definitely the story will be changed. And we now said, okay, even at that, we still want to do more by bringing Kwara out of that last drop of the rating. So this is exactly what we are doing as I speak to you now, throughout all the local government and what they have enjoyed the intervention of His Excellency Governor Abdurrahman Abrazak in terms of water provision. The Asadam has received rehabilitation and renovation. The project for rural water supply actually started in 2012, but unfortunately it was abandoned in the midway, and there's no how these people could get access to water. The moment this government came on board, there was a high intervention. Right now, as I speak to you, water is running in that local government. Then there are so many other places which have never accessed water. But this time around, today, the story, the narratives have changed. In the course of this discussion, I will run through all what the government have done in terms of providing adequate water supply to the states.
All right, Honourable Commissioner, we would like you to be specific, in terms of all the projects, water projects that have been embarked upon by the present administration in Kwara State, because we also have an information that not all parts of Ilori, the capital of Kwara State, not all parts, have a steady water supply. You have just mentioned that all government areas in the state have access to water. Give us an idea of the statistics in terms of the number of people you think in Kwara State have access to water supply. And again, the federal government has some policies and programs enunciated here by the Minister of Water Resources. How many of these measures that your state government is keen into to ensure water supply in your state?
Yeah, water is simply meaning it's not easy to have water supply to every nook and cranny of the state, especially within 2 years. But what I simply mean is that there's virtually no local government that has not been touched one way or the other. If I may be allowed to run quickly into what the government have done, there is a waterworks in Lafiaji, that's Kwara North. The rehabilitation has been carried out in this place and it has been completed. Then there is a rehabilitation of Patiji Waterworks. There's rehabilitation of Igbaja Waterworks. There's rehabilitation of Kayama Waterworks. There's rehabilitation of Guanara Waterworks. reticulation of God Club in the Ilorin metropolis, rehabilitation of Kwara water tanks across Ilorin metropolis. There's refurbishment of Agbabiaka water tanks. There's rehabilitation of Oruago water tanks in Ifelodun local government. There's interconnection of Eastern Reservoir at Olowo Road. There's diversion of ductile iron iron pipes in, along Asadam Okiose. There's repair of works at Patiji Waterworks and its extension. There's a relocation of AC pipe along Baraji Babuko area. There's provision of water supply at Adibesin community in Ogidi area. There's reactivation of Block 4 filter bed at Asadam right now as I speak to you. And there's a rehabilitation of Share Waterworks. There's a restoration of pipe-borne water at Abata, Asokere, Ayigbami, Alagbado, and Amoni estates. What I'm giving out, I know the Kwarans are watching and they will testify to all what I'm saying. And there's payment for completion of Rure Waterworks, which I just mentioned now, that right now as I speak, there is water running in this community. There's rehabilitation of Oyun Waterworks. Oyun Waterworks supply of a local government, part of Oyun local government and Irekodun local government. The first phase of this is about 85% completion, which this government has done. The second phase will give water to the environs like Ipe, Igosun, Ajashe, and the likes. So the job is ongoing as I speak to you. Then there's provision of water supply in Dumaji, in Edu local government. Right now, as I speak to you, that has been completed, and the community just approached us and they need extension of reticulations to other parts of the area, which the government is positively looking at. In fact, any moment from now, that will be done. Then there is extension of pipe-borne water to Royal Estate and Mountain View area in Ilorin. There is construction of 10 numbers of fetching points to provide water supply in OKOC, Ilorin. Repair of Isokan community water distribution pipeline along Sawmill Road in Ilorin. Then there's construction of 20 numbers of fetching points to boost water supply, boost water supply in Ilorin West.
All right. Honourable Commissioner Femi Agbaje, thank you very much. We will return to you in the course of the conversation to get further insight into how the state government is going about achieving the list of items that you have read out just a while ago in response to the question posed by my colleague Kirian. Thank you very much. We'll still stay with you, of course, via Zoom from Ilorin, the Kwara State capital. Let's come back now to our Abuja headquarters studios and bring in the WASH manager of UNICEF, WASH being Water, Sanitation and Hygiene, Omar Domboya. Let's ask you, how well is Nigeria doing with the WASH program?
Yeah, thank you again and good morning. Let me say that UNICEF is working in Nigeria to support the federal government and state government to achieve the right of children and women to safe, sustainable, and climate-resilient WASH services. I can say if we look back to the past 6 years and look where we are now, we can say a lot of progress has been made. I think the Honourable Minister has mentioned it. And key areas of progress are around open defecation, how really the federal ministry has tried to work hard to put it at the highest level possible, whereby there was the declaration of state of emergency and now the Clean Nigeria campaign. And so far, 61 ODF open defecation free LGAs are across the country. 61 is a low number if you compare to 774 LGAs in Nigeria. But if you take it back to 4 years, where you had none open defecation-free LGA in the whole country, it's a progress. And as we go, the progress is being made quickly. Last year only, there were more than 20 additional open defecation-free LGAs compared to other years. So there's still a long way to go, but really progress is being made. And what is important here is now everyone is on board at really the highest level to push this agenda. When you look around the water component, the access 6 years back and now is really very different. Currently, you have more than 70% access to basic services in terms of water. When we talk about basic services is when the water is available within just 30 minutes round trip, you can get the water. Now,
and it doesn't matter who provides the water.
Yes, it doesn't matter who provides the water, but accountability is there, and we will come to that from government side, but also from other players like the private sector, but also like the citizens. Maybe we talk about it later. But in terms of progress, I wanted also to mention what has been done in terms of policies and in terms of evidence generation. One of the big achievements has been the sector is now provided with data. Data that can help plan, see where the problems are, target the problem, address them, and solve them. And Nigeria is one of these countries with a rich data given the landscape of the water sector. And this is really something key. And from that, I'm sure that we can achieve more because we know where the problems are. And with support from the development partners, government, we are sure that more can be done in terms of...
What kind of data are you talking about now? Data pertaining to what?
Yes, it is data given, for example, what is the status across all the 36 states in terms of access to water, access to sanitation, access to hygiene, in terms of who is contributing, in terms of how much is needed, what is the funding gap, in terms of what about the institutions, schools, healthcare facilities, motor park, public places. All these together, if we know what is happening, what is the status, then it is easy to figure out where are the problems and try to address them.
Honourable, I don't know if I'm asking this. What is the direct UNICEF contribution in this area? Because you are the WASH manager of UNICEF. Do you have any direct input in terms of funding, in terms of facilitation of access to water supply in any part of the country?
I will say yes. I will say yes to that, and let me just bring some fact. The first is about this evidence generation about data for the water sector I'm mentioning. UNICEF has been key in supporting the federal ministry and the state, and we are now at the 3rd edition of this water survey. And I'm sure by end of this year, we will have fresh data again. The first edition was in 2018, the second 2019, and UNICEF has been key into that. And of course, our role is to support. And once we we develop a model together with the ministry, then the idea is to hand it over. And today we are happy that the federal ministry is really owning this process and rolling it out with the National Bureau of Statistics. A second aspect I wanted to mention is our critical role in terms of ODF, open defecation free achievement. I'm sure you all know that Nigeria has the target of ending open defecation by 2025. And we, as UNICEF, we are really very committed to support the federal ministry and the state ministry, the state government to achieve that. And so far, out of the 61 open defecation free LGAs in Nigeria, UNICEF contribution is for 54. I think this is something key to mention. And beyond the open defecation-free LGAs at national level in terms of really pushing for the Clean Nigeria campaign to reach more people, in terms of also pushing at state level, as you mentioned about state, to domesticate the Clean Nigeria campaign. So we have also played a key role. Now, coming to basic services like water facilities, we have been supporting state LGAs to really build water facilities, sanitation facilities, and develop the public-private partnership to really push the WASH agenda. I can just mention about 2020. We were facing the COVID-19. And one of the key things we were able to achieve was to develop a COVID-proof procurement process, support the state to be able to build water facilities, do hygiene promotion, and fight the COVID-19, but also continue to fight, all these water-related diseases. And this time we were able to reach more than 2 million people during just 2020 in terms of access to water in different states.
Okay, thank you very much, Omar. Let's bring in again the Honourable Minister of Water Resources. Well, let's take a look at the 61 out of the 774 local governments that have achieved the open defecation-free status. Can we have a sense of which local governments these are? Not necessarily all of them. Are they in urban areas, and in which states are they? And what are the critical success factors in this 61, so that we know whether we can ramp up the numbers going forward?
Well, they cut across many states. They're in Cross River, they're in Benue, they're in Katsina, in Jigawa, in Kaduna. Lots of others, they are spread around. But the interesting thing is that we're also looking at now to get the first state that is open defecation free in this whole process. So I think Katsina is leading with 16 LGAs, followed by Jigawa with our 14. But the good thing is that there seems to be a healthy competition everywhere regarding this issue of open defecation free status. I can mention maybe in Kaduna, Java, local government. Of course, I mentioned Obaliku. In Benue, there is Gwer, local government. In Jigawa, there is Gwiwa, local government. There is, I think, Buji. Well, these are different places. I will not be able to name all of them, but they are quite spread. And I always, when the results are brought, I myself say, are you sure that these local governments are open defecation free? And there is what we call the National Sanitation Task Group who are involved. There is a strict protocol on assessment, and post also certification. They'll keep going to check on these issues. I remember a particular story about a local government in Cross River State. A motorist was driving through the local government and parked his car and defecated. And suddenly the people around the community just surrounded him and made him park his business into his car and tell him that this thing is not allowed within our local government. So I think we're making progress in that regard. And let me say that Umar was talking about the WASH norm, what we call Water Sanitation Hygiene National Outline Routine Mapping, that we're working with the National Bureau of Statistics, supported by, of course, by UNICEF. And based on that, as of 2015, the coverage was 68%, like I mentioned, but now we're talking about 71, 72%. Bear in mind also that from 2016 to date, the population has increased. So, but regardless of that, we've still been able to move about 10 million people or more to provide access to water to over 10 million people. And the other thing that I didn't mention was that, going forward with the WASH Action Plan, we got the World Bank to support what we're doing. And now the board of the World Bank has approved a $700 million facility for Nigeria $350 million will be used to support urban water schemes and $350 million to support rural water supply and sanitation programs, just to support P-Wash and all the things that we're doing. So you can see what is gratifying to me is that the international community is also taking note of the things that and they're coming. They offered. They came and they said, look, we're happy with what you are doing. How can we support you? And I think, so if the world is taking notice, and especially given the fact that Nigeria is now the #1 country practicing open defecation, I think it says a lot about what we're doing, and we're quite happy with the way things are. But of course, we need to make a lot of progress. The challenge continues to be the state governments. Political will has been lacking before, but I can tell you now we are seeing a lot of changes. That's like 20-something, about 24 states maybe have declared a state of emergency now on water, sanitation, and hygiene, following from what the president has done. The progress may not be as much as we want, but at least with the fact that we've extracted this political commitment at the highest level, I think it's a win-win. And
what are the components of the emergency on water and sanitation program? What are the components?
Well,
of the
obviously,
emergency?
there's the issue of governance. There's the issue of financing. There's the issue of increasing the coverage. I think there are about 5 pillars that were put in place, and they're operating slowly. But the key thing is that there are specific responsibilities for the federal government, and there are specific responsibilities assigned to the states. And they've all those states that have keyed in, there's a protocol, they've all agreed, they've signed. And that's the way to go. One of the key things we need to do now is to make sure that we monitor what is going. Then there was a question you asked about critical success of the ODF. I think the situation is that unlike India, where the government, because it's a huge economy, they came out to build the toilets in some cases for communities and so on. In our case, we realize we cannot have the resources, and in any case, we feel that building toilets in your household is a personal responsibility. It should not be government that should come and build a toilet for anybody. So the funds we're spending is on advocacy. And we have a tested model called community-led total sanitation, which kind of involves the entire community. And it has worked and it has continued to work. So that's our model. And that was what has brought us to the 61 LGAs and counting. So we'll continue to do it. Yes, we are spending money, but our spending is modest. Going to be on training, capacity building, advocacy, and so on, while communities take responsibility for their own actions. There's one village that we went to witness how these things are triggered just on the way to the airport here in Abuja. And we got there, all the people were defecating in the bush. But within a month, they were building 28 toilets in that community. That's a very small village. So this community-led total sanitation approach is quite potent, and that has been, I think, the most critical success factor.
All right, Honourable Minister. Part of what Kisley was saying is that these council areas we're talking about, some of them may be in the urban centers, because these days we have council areas in urban centers, and we'll be more interested actually in council areas in the hinterland, where we have a greater population of this country. Those days we used to have sanitary officers, who moved from house to house, to inspect hygiene and all of that. Okay, now let's go back to Ilori, the Kwara State capital, where we still have Commissioner for Water Resources. So we'll go on a short break, and when we come back, we'll actually go to him for this very important question. So you are watching Good Morning Nigeria on NTA Network Services. Let's take a short break now. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation. Don't go away. We thank you for staying with us on the program. Now let's go to Ilori, the capital of Kwara State, where we have Commissioner for Water Resources, Femi Agbaje. Sir, you initially, frowned at the rating of Kwara State with respect to open defecation. You're saying that it was poorly rated. We would like to know the right rating for now. What is the situation concerning open defecation in Kwara State at the moment?
Thank you very much. In terms of open defecation, Kwara was ranked the least in the country. And just like I said earlier, I was baffled because when I knew how much the government has put into eradicating open defecation and into providing a quality water supply to the state. So I now asked questions and I was told that that judgment was based on the data available to the organs that did the rating. And the data was supplied as far back as 2018, which means this government has not really come on board at that time. But that notwithstanding, we said, okay, even if that is the rating, there is need for us, to improve on this so that if it is possible, we can be within the first 10. And to realize this, we look at the WASH program and we look at the P-WASH program. His Excellency has evoked a state of emergency on water sector by setting up a technical committee on WASH, which comprises of all stakeholders, NGOs, UNICEF, professional bodies, community leaders, academia, and all the water sector MDAs. And the program has really kickstarted in the Kwara State. On September 2020, His Excellency inaugurated this state steering committee, and declaration of state emergency on WASH was initiated that same day. The Kwara State, eventually, the Kwara State's roadmap on WASH was presented during launch. The Federal Ministry of Water Resources has done a lot to collaborate with Kwara State in terms of helping it solve some of these problems. When the minister was making presentation and he was mentioning the state, he didn't even mention Kwara State. And I know he has done a lot of things in the Kwara State. Right now, as I speak to you, he chose about 4 local governments where some facilities, toilet facilities were built for this local government. In fact, my hometown is one, and I know I didn't know anybody. It was just based on their needs assessment that they came to that place. They did in Ofa, they did in Eleyoka in the Irepodo local government, they did in Asomolu, Jeba Axis in Moro local government, and they did in Oruago, that's at Ifelodun local government. All these have been done and all this have been put in place. And in terms of P-WASH, this administration, like I said, was in comatose situation when the government came on board. But with the intervention of the governor, a lot have been done in this regard. Already, the counterpart fund has been contributed, it has been paid, and we are expecting the federal government to do their own part of the arrangement. All these are some of the things that have been put in place by the state government. And again, I want to mention, because there is no how you'll be talking about sanitation, hygiene, environment without mentioning water supply. It is not just possible, and that's why they said water is life. So all this, the government has done, and hopefully we believe with all these things being put in place, definitely Kwara will be out of the least ranking stage, which we found ourselves. Also, I want to mention some of the things
Mr. Femi Agbaje, we're going to have to pause you. Let's bring in again the UNICEF manager in charge of WASH for Nigeria, Omar Dumbuya. Well, both yourself and the Honourable Minister have indicated that population of Nigerians having access to water supply now is not less than 70%. We're looking at 70, you said 70, and the minister says around about 71, 72%. Is this sustainable? in asking that question, my assumption is, have we interrogated the sources of access? That's why I asked earlier, I said, look, who provides the water? You say, go get your water within 30 minutes and you are back. Some persons will say, look, that's still a long way. So what is this sustainable? Are we likely to see a climb up in the numbers, or are we likely to see a decline, depending on the current factors that are giving us these numbers in terms of access to water supply?
Yeah, I think you are bringing a key aspect to the water sector here, sustainability. Sustainability has been the drawback factor in terms of achievement. A lot of investment made, but sustainability, I'm talking here about functionality and sustaining functionality, didn't follow. And I think one of the area also we have made progress is also on that, when we supported the ministry to develop what we call the village level operation and the maintenance system. This has been rolled out first at federal level to develop the strategies and then implement it also at state level. So as we speak, many LGAs are rolling out this system, whereby whenever a facility broke down, there's a systematic way to get it repaired. So now functionality has improved. And when we talk about access to basic service, around 70%, this is not saying that we still have to look now at the Sustainable Development Goals that look at safely managed services. For example, in terms of water, for the Sustainable Development Goal toward which we are going to by 2030, mean that water should be available within the premises. A family, a household should wake up and find water easily for children to go to school and so on. Yes, sustainability is a key and is still a challenge, but we have already the groundwork. And building on that, we are sure that the federal ministry, the state, have now the capacity really to roll this out and have more sustainable systems as we go forward.
What are cost?
Cost is...
Cost for access.
Yes. The cost for access is one topic that needs really attention. One thing here about cost is water is seen like a service that we don't pay for. But it is a service like electricity. Now, to ask for cost, we need first to ensure that the service is there, sustainable, and then talk about tariff. And when we go about tariff, this should be approached in a way we consider what is happening around the household and how we really address the tariff system. I'm sure that federal and state government are looking at it, and RUASAs, the wash department at LGA level, are looking at it in many ways. For example, I can just tell you, in some of the LGAs where we have supported to establish the village level system, operation and maintenance system, it's a way to really collect through the wash committees at the community level some small contribution here and there, and call the local area mechanic that has been trained to fix it, and the population is benefiting from the water. And the LGA is involved, the community is involved, so at some point it is a shared responsibility. When the service is there, available, and people see the interest of the service, then they key into that and they contribute into that.
All right, thank you. Honourable Minister, yesteryears, or let me say in the 70s and 80s, the federal government and state governments invested heavily in dams and, of course, the river basin authorities. But it does appear that so many dams in Nigeria are dysfunctional. And, of course, we also see a situation where river basin authorities are performing below standard. Give us an update, of the dams we have in Nigeria, apart from the few ones you mentioned earlier on. We have numerous other dams across the nation that are either not useful anymore or perhaps performing under its usual capacity.
True, and let me seize this opportunity to pay tribute to our forefathers, because to be honest, up to the early 80s, the governments of the day did so well in terms of water resources management, building all these dams and reservoirs. As we're talking today, very soon I'm going to launch a new compendium on the dams all the dams in the country, and I think there are about 240 or thereabout. And it's just the usual problem with this country. Dams were built, the dams have a purpose. I think so far the only dam that I know was built basically for flood control is Kashimbila. All the rest are either for water supply or irrigation, or a combination of all, also hydropower. So what usually has happened is that the federal government built the dams, and there ought to have been some understanding that state governments would take from the dam, abstract the water to provide water supply to the people, or to create irrigation system for the farmers around that place. But they never did that investment. There is even provision, for aquaculture, and that has not even, granted that it's capital intensive, but I have not seen Nigerian entrepreneurs going into that kind of venture until recently. We've seen a few in Kampi Omi, in Oyan Dam, in Abuja, and Kwara State. And we've become a country that is importing tilapia from China. When with one dam or two, you can, a certain geopolitical zone can benefit from, you can supply all the tilapia requirements of that particular location. So we have tried to change the focus, but still, as long as states don't invest, you need to understand, with regards to water supply, I keep saying, does the federal government have a water board? We don't have a water board. It's not the responsibility of the federal government to treat water and distribute, to take the water to your taps or to your households. It is essentially a state responsibility. So the federal government has built, out of these 240 dams, many of them are also state dams, but I would say a large proportion of these dams were built by the federal government. And it's for the states and the local governments and whoever, even private sector people, to utilize these dams, but they haven't. The federal government cannot be in every nook and cranny. In terms of water resources infrastructure, I think the federal government has done tremendously well, and is still doing a lot. You can see I inherited 37 dam projects, and more will come. We will still get a lot of requests for dams. But sometimes the construction of the dams is even misplaced. Somebody came and requested, a member of the National Assembly, that he wanted a dam. I asked him, what is the dam for? What do you need the dam for? He says, for water supply. I says, water supply? I said, okay, you have a choice. We can start building this dam now. With 37 dams that we have ongoing, it will take maybe 10 years before we finish this dam. And that means it will take 10 years before your people start drinking water. But there is an alternative. If it's water you want, we can find an alternative means. And we went to the location, we found a river, and we're right now constructing a water scheme that by next year they'll be having water to drink. So there is this kind of also issue, the misplacement of priorities and lack of planning and lack of adequate consideration for what should be done. What was the other question? The other bit.
River basin authorities.
Yes, the river basin. I can assure you the river basins are not what they were 7, 8, 10 years ago. That I can tell you. Now we have round pegs in round holes. You cannot be an executive director of planning in the river basin if you do not have the necessary background to be a planner. You cannot be a director of engineering if you are not an engineer. You cannot be an MD if you don't have either agricultural background or water resources background or development background. Whereas before it was anything goes. That's one. Number two, all river basins now we've compelled them that every 4 years they must give us an action plan. And we have restored services like extension services. We have made them to understand that they are enablers. They are not, some of them, when I came into office, they will be giving me progress that they have this school, they have bottling plant, they have a fish drying system, they have a palm oil, refinery or something like that. I said, look, these are not the issues. The issues are how much land have you been able to provide to people to how much have you prepared for agriculture, for irrigation in particular? How many farmers have you empowered in terms of capacity building, giving them extension services, providing them with rich, hybrid seeds and so on and so forth? So we're changing the focus. And I can assure you they're becoming more relevant now. And we've started working in collaboration with the Bureau for Public Enterprise on the commercialization, an attempt to commercialize the river basin so that we reduce their dependence on national budget so that they can step up on their internal revenue generation and use it to be able to provide more services to the people. So I think in that respect, if you check the river basins now, I can assure you the focus is changing.
All right. While we're still on the issue of dams, and before we go over to Kwara, we're having a conversation around the flood and flooding outlook for this year. This was some weeks ago. And some of our guests, who are, of course, experts on this matter, did raise concerns about the efficient management of our dams. That part of the reason why we are having some flooding in some parts of the country is that a number of these dams are silted. And then, of course, as you also pointed out, the waters in the dams are not being utilized. So waters come, and then when the waters have not been utilized, either for agricultural or industrial or domestic purposes, the flood coming from the headwaters in Futajalon will obviously come, say from on the Niger Basin, and settle in the dams. Before you know it, they will open their spillways, and then you have flooding all over the place. What is the problem with the efficient management of dams at the moment?
Well, like many other things, I think over time, the quality of people managing systems has gone down. There's been lack of training. There's been lack of adherence to rules. Every dam has what we call curves. There are reservoir operations. There are procedures for reservoir operations, based on the curves of that particular. There is a technical terminology. So if they're not abiding by them, many people, the experts that used to run them have retired, and there was no attempt to replace them with people that are also diligent and also capable and technically able, and of course also there is attitude to work and so on, as we all know as Nigerians. So yes, and siltation has been there. That is true. That is a price we have to pay for deforesting our land, degrading our land over time. The last 100 years. Most of the rivers are silting up, right like you said. And yes, if the dam is closed for the whole year, it has not been used and is already silting up, so the storage capacity is reduced. So when in the rainy season water comes, obviously you have a choice, either to open the gates and allow the water to flow, or you allow the inflow to overtop the dam. And when the dam breaks, it is much more serious than if you are releasing the water. So that is it. People have been asking, what do we do about desilting? Not much we can do about it. Every dam has a lifespan, and part of the design of dams requires that you do siltation studies. So there is a projection as to how much silt over a period of time will affect the storage capacity of the dam. And most of small and medium dams probably have 40, 50 years lifespan, and many of them have attained it already. and some of the bigger dams can have 200, 500, even 1,000 years. Luckily, major dams like Kainji and Tiga, we still have a long way to go, and maybe never. But honestly, that is the situation. And what we have done in the ministry in the last few years since I came into office, two things that I know we have done. Number one is we have developed a new manual for reservoir operations, which we have shared with all the river basins. And we have done a lot of work on dam safety. And I think there is also a manual on dam safety that is coming up. So, you know, all these things are management issues. And if people adhere to the rules, that will be fine. But don't forget that it's not only that aspect, it's not dams alone that cause. The major problem is people building on water courses, not managing stormwater drainages in the cities, and so on and so forth. And once a river or a place has flooded in a particular lifetime, and the rivers always, floods, you always see a mark there. Mm-hmm. One day it will come back. It may take 10 years, it may be 100 years, it will still come back. So it's carelessness and I don't know, let me just say carelessness for a person or a community to come to and start, building a life in a place that they know is a floodplain and has the potential that the water will come back to it. So these are some of the issues.
If I would let you go, let us know some of the challenges you have at the moment, the challenges you have in the water sector.
I think the major challenge is funding. That is one. Secondly, for water supply, I think general attitude of people. Everybody thinks that water is a free commodity. Umar mentioned that you have to pay for a service, but we also understand that the service has to be, available before you can pay. So what we are trying to do is if we can get massive funding to invest and improve the water supply situation, and then maybe the citizenry might begin to say, okay, well, now we can pay. But as long as we have that problem, it's a problem. And then there are related issues. Energy. If we don't get the power sector, sorted out, the problem of the power sector, it will continue to have a big problem because a tremendous amount of energy is required, especially in urban populations, to be able to provide water.
Well, the water bill has been contentious in the sense that a number of lawmakers in the National Assembly have voiced concerns as to the original intent and the desired effect or impact of the bill if and when it becomes law. What is the status?
We're still working on it. We are working in stepping up our advocacy. The problem with that bill is that people had some imaginary, feelings about it. They thought, or they took information from secondary sources, because some people just felt it smart for them to politicize it, and in the wrong way, and in the process, misinforming Nigerians. We have done everything we can to inform Nigeria. We have opened up everything, the bills. Anybody that can read can see what is in the bill. So we're stepping up. We are not relenting on this bill issue. It's just to be able to allay the fears of the National Assembly, and that is done through communication. And a lot of the people that were opposing, based on information, second-hand information that they got, when the facts were laid before them, have found reason to support it.
All right, Honourable Minister, thank you very much for that. We are unable to rejoin Femi Abdul-Wahab Agbaje, the Commissioner for Water Resources, who had been with us via Zoom from Ilorin. All right, he's back there on the screen. Mr. Agbaje, well, we are pressed for time now, but just one takeaway. I'm sure that you will have a conversation with your colleagues who are also commissioners in charge of water resources. The point that the Honourable Minister made is one that we have heard consistently over the years. The inability or unwillingness of state governments to tap from bulk water sources provided by the federal government, which is one of the reasons why we are having waters not being fully utilized from dams. And these are some of the constitutive factors of flood and flooding in certain parts of the country. As I said, we're not going to have time to discuss that. I'm sure when we're able to assemble commissioners of water resources, we can interrogate that more. But otherwise, we appreciate your being with us this morning from Ilorin via Zoom. Thanks a lot and best wishes.
I would say that, to be candid, what you said about the efforts being made by the state governor are true. I think Kwara State, from the statistics that they have seen the dismal situation they're in, and the government is doing everything possible to reverse the trend. I can concur with that.
Thank you very much. Omar Dumbuya, manager of UNICEF WASH in Nigeria, we'd like to thank you for being part of our discussion this morning.
Thank you.
And last but not the least, of course, the Honourable Minister of Water Resources, Engineer Suleiman Adamu. Pleasure having you again, and good morning, Nigeria.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right. So that's it for our program today. Thanks a lot for tuning in. We are back tomorrow, as always, same time, 7 in the morning. Until then, do take care of yourself. I am Kingsley Osadolo.
And I am Kirin Umayo. Do have a great day.